Owen here with you from the WRVS studio while Malcolm is in an undisclosed location, part of the Witness Protection Program. Malcolm, and you're killing me here. It's over. Edenton lost. No way people are giving you grief on that pick still. There's no way that could be happening. We got to have you back in the office. You got to let us know where you're at, man.
If I told you, I got to kill you.
All right, stay where you are.
The best coverage of high school and college athletics in Northeast North Carolina begins now. This is NENC Sports Radio Show on WRVS 89.9.
We've made double digits. 10th episode of the third season, the NENC Sports Radio Show. I'm Owen Hassel, sports editor for the Daily Advance, and with us from somewhere in the world, Advance sports writer Malcolm Shields. How are you going to kill me? You're hiding out somewhere.
Can't tell you.
You got some contacts there? You got
maybe
Florida Mafia?
Maybe not.
A lot of not answers from Malcolm Shields. Of course, we get to produce this show each week from WRVS 89.9 FM on the campus of Elizabeth City State. It's WRVS, and it's your
community voice.
Our guest at this time, the football coach for the Currituck Knights, teams at Bertie this Friday, coming off a bye week, and I guess like 2 bye weeks. Thanks to the weather. It's John Wheeler. Coach, you refreshed for the rest of the season?
I think so. I think everybody's just ready to play some ball throughout the entire region, to be honest with you.
We'll definitely talk more to Coach Wheeler throughout the show. But first, for more on Northeastern North Carolina sports, follow us on Twitter. Also use the hashtag NENC Sports to keep the discussion rolling. You can follow us at NENC Sports. Then for me, I'm at ONOBX. Malcolm?
I'm at Malcolm_Shields.
Coach, you also have Twitter?
I do, at Currituck FB.
Okay, and there's more ways to stay involved with sports in Northeastern North Carolina in the form of a blog. Go to nencsports.wordpress.com for tidbits that aren't always in the Daily Advance, plus interviews and video from various Northeastern North Carolina games. More with Coach Wheeler after this.
Like our Facebook page and give us your questions and comments. Find us at facebook.com/NENC Sports.
You're ready to become a scholar. It's time for you to earn your bachelor's or master's degree. At Elizabeth City State University, we're proud of our strong academic programs. For the 4th consecutive year, Publication Washington Monthly ranked ECSU number 1 in the Best Baccalaureate Colleges category of the 2015 Washington Monthly College Rankings. Start the process today. Call 800-347-3278 or find us online at ecsu.edu. Elizabeth City State University. Let us make a scholar out of you.
I'm a student athlete, which means I'm still learning.
I'm still growing.
I'm getting important lessons about perseverance, teamwork,
determination, respect, and dedication through playing sports at my school.
Mom, Dad, Coach, in a few years,
I'll probably forget a lot of the details, but I won't forget the lessons I learned.
From the way you act towards my teammates,
coaches, referees, and other fans.
What kind of lesson do you want me to learn? I'm watching.
Sportsmanship, together we make the right call.
This message has been brought to you by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association.
This is Edenton coach Paul Hoggart, and you're listening to NENC Sports Radio Show on WRVS 89.9.
I don't want to know, no, who's taking you home.
Edenton fans don't want to know last Friday.
Neither do I.
Yeah, from wherever you're at right now. Northeastern Edenton week finished very anticlimactic. Final score, Northeastern 48, Edenton 14, the biggest margin of victory in this series since 2010, with Northeastern handed it to the Aces by, I believe, 59 points. Who would have guessed this type of blowout? The Eagles made it look easy by halftime. The Aces fumbling multiple times, pick six. Malcolm, 48 points for Northeastern. Didn't even have 300 yards of total offense.
Yeah, that just kind of shows you how dominant that defense was in terms of turning the football over during the first few portion of the season for Edenton. The turnovers were coming on fumbles, but against Northeastern, it was actually the pass with the 2 interceptions, the early one by Trey that set up the second score, and then also the pick six by Tyshawn. They did have a fumble there that led to a score, but for the most part, the backs seemed like they were holding on to the ball until later in the game. But it's going to be interesting to see how Edenton's going to adjust the rest of the way of the season.
Yeah, Trey Bryant with that interception. You said Tyshawn Vaughn with an incredible Friday night with the pick six, catching 2 touchdown passes. Oh, by the way, throwing one
Yes.
right before halftime that really just stuck it right to Edenton before the break. Here he goes off a reverse and just perfectly executed and throws a really nice ball to Tyleek Overton. Only Tyleek's catching that.
Yeah.
And 35-14 at halftime. If it's 28-14, we're doing a lot of what ifs. 28-14 at halftime. If you're Coach Paul Hoggard, you've had 3 turnovers. You got to be thinking that's a half victory. And maybe this game, is it closer? What?
I'm talking to Coach after the game. That's the one thing that he pointed out. He's like, hey, if we could have got a stop there at the end of the half, we get the ball second half kickoff, we would have had a chance to probably turn the tie, make it a 28-21 game. But, when you have a 14-point swing right, just like that kind of, put the game to bed.
Yeah. An angry group of Eagles is what I call it, what I saw Friday. A very motivated, very intense group. I haven't seen them in that mode in a while. Certainly felt like they had something to prove and to say, hey, this is Northeastern's Coastal Conference. And the last team to beat Northeastern, I like the segue. I think Coach Wheeler will too. Can you help me out the last time Northeastern lost a conference game?
No, don't put me on the spot like that now. It have to be 2013.
That's right.
A great game, both teams.
You were and I watched the video post game of that a couple of times. You were in such a celebratory, but also wanting to get the troops together mood. You probably didn't know what to say first, right?
Thinking back to that moment, I mean, it was just a huge moment for the entire program, and really just something that a lot of people weren't anticipating. It was kind of a weird situation. It was a game that had to be rescheduled to Saturday, and weather was an issue, and it kind of started off, well for us. We were up 14-0, and then they stormed back and took a commanding lead, 28-14, going into the fourth quarter. So that was a big season for us. It was a great game, like I said, by both teams, and it came down to the wire. So it's something I'll always remember.
And we did get a couple questions emailed to us about Northeastern Edenton. One Edenton fan is a guy that writes to us quite often, actually. He asked, since Northeastern found out a way to stop the dive option, would Edenton coaches plan to change things on both sides of the ball going forward, especially getting the ball in Keemon Bailey and Deshaun Hall's hands, take the pressure off Luke Hogger, become more of a power I team? And does Luke have the speed to run the dive? The second part of the question, no. That's pretty easy. That part I can answer. It does not. Power I team, Edenton's not big enough.
On the line, I don't think so. They got Jarvie on the line, Jarvie Thomas. He's a good sized kid, but across the board, probably not. They did try to get the ball outside with the option, but with Northeastern speed, sideline to sideline, they can cover it, and they limited Bailey and Hall on last week.
Yeah, Keemon Bailey came in with 1,100 plus yards rushing, leading the area. Multiple 100, 200 yard games. I believe he had 61 against Northeastern.
Yeah,
they just shut down, absolutely shut down. And not to mention here, why would you totally revamp your offense with 3 or 4 games left? You've still done pretty well with it.
6-2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand you want to push a panic button, perhaps, but don't.
Yeah.
If you're an Edenton fan, there's no need to do that. You're going to be okay until you play Northeastern again in the playoffs, if that happens. But otherwise, the rest of the season, I don't see the Aces losing.
I don't see it. They're going to have a good test on Friday night against the Pass again with Braxton Hughes in first flight. It's going to be interesting to see how that Edenton defense is going to respond.
Yeah. We did get a statement from a well-known athlete who had a similar experience to Edenton. Let's listen to his thoughts.
They battled their butt off, and what can I say? Just tip my hat and call the Yankees my daddies.
We're going to get it back to Coach Wheeler. An extended break for the Knights. Coach, you began the year 2-0. You haven't been able to get a victory since then. Is this time to refocus maybe a blessing to help, or missing that time making it harder? What do you see out of that?
I mean, it's definitely a good time for us to have a bye week to make sure that we can just refocus, like you said, and get back to some basics and just have some fun with it. We've been able to dial some stuff up on defense and retool our offense in a lot of regards. So, we're excited to have the opportunity to go over to Bertie this Friday, coming off of a bye week. Unfortunately, it's kind of coming off 2 bye weeks because we've had to reschedule that Edenton game due to weather. But, like I said, we're just going to stay focused. We've had quite a few reschedulings this season. It's something I've never had to deal with in 12 years of coaching, and it's something that I think has really taken a lot of getting used to. And it's hard to say because you never want to get used to something like that. But football is a completely different sport. We're not like baseball, basketball, volleyball, where you're okay with having 3 games in a week. There's a process, there's a schedule, there's a regiment to a football preparation week. And when you keep messing with that, it really, takes a toll on you, and it's hard to get refocused. We've had to do this 5 times this season already. We've had 2 weeks where we played Monday and Friday. We've played Saturday. We're going to be playing a Thursday on November 10th. So I remember seeing somebody say something on Twitter that I think we've officially played football just about every day of the week this week, except for Sundays and Wednesdays. But that's just something you got to deal with. And the good thing is we constantly talk to our program about how to deal with adversity. And, when you have that opportunity to get right back at it, that's what you got to do. So we've gotten right back at it. We've installed our game plan for Bertie, and kids are excited. We've had 3 great days of practice, and we're hoping to shore everything up on our walkthrough tomorrow and get on the bus and go play a great ball game against a really good Bertie team.
Yeah, Bertie is an interesting team this year because if anyone's been hit hard by flooding in this area, probably Bertie, because of the storm a few weeks before Matthew, and they hadn't even cleaned up from that. They've dealt with all that adversity. Corey Cherry, their top running back, has been hurt. I don't know if he's even back yet.
I think he was hurt preseason before because they had to bye the first week.
Right, and he was already hurt, so he hasn't even played then perhaps this whole year. A lot of these different things going against Bertie, but then you see some fight in the Falcons. They beat a good Riverside team. And then they go down to First Flight and win against a team that I thought could very well finish 3rd in this conference, maybe could still end up finishing 3rd. So there's a lot of fight left in Bertie. Coach Willard, do you see Coach Grantley Mazzell in that? Like just a lot of not give up mentality?
Absolutely. A team always is going to reflect the attitude and the tenacity of their head coach. Grantley's a Bertie guy. And I believe we talked about this when Grantley was hired. He's a phenomenal hire. He understands the Bertie mentality. He understands, the discipline that it's going to take to get those guys right. And he's doing that. I think the world of Grantley. He's doing a phenomenal job with those guys, and it shows in film. They've improved tremendously since the beginning of the season, and they've had to deal with some pretty significant injuries themselves, and not to mention what they've gone through as a community. He's been able to get some guys together and help clean up the facility. He's got some guys together to really just refocus and get football back on track there in Windsor. But my hat goes off to him and his staff. They're doing a phenomenal job, and their JVs are pretty tough too. So it's not just maybe a senior class is really strong. He's building a program. So like I said, this Bertie Falcon team is one to really keep your eye on, and we're blessed to have the opportunity to go play them this Friday for their homecoming.
North Carolina High School Athletic Association said, okay, we're going to give football an extra week and some other sports extra time because of all the time missed due to storms. I guess I would probably know your answer would be yes, as far as whether you like this or not, because you are looking to play 3 games in 7 days, which is, to me, ridiculous. Like that, how? But how important is it now that you have this extra week? It's
critical. It's critical to us and the safety of our players, most importantly. Like you said, we were looking at playing, a game on the 28th, a game on the 31st, and a game on the 4th. So you're looking at 3 games in a 7-day span. And again, football is not baseball, basketball, volleyball. It's not meant to be played in those type of intervals. But, I think the state really stepped up and lived up to their mission statement about the safety and equality of their student athletes by expanding the season a week. I think that was a major statement by the NCHSAA to let everybody in the state know that, yes, we do care about the safety of these guys, and we're willing to sacrifice, something like this and push it back a week. So luckily we were able to reschedule that Edenton makeup game from the 31st, which would have been a Monday, to that extra week on November 10th. We're going to play it on that Thursday night because that Friday night is Veterans Day and no school for our students. So we're going to go ahead and make those arrangements. But, the other thing, you got to point out is we got hit pretty hard here in the northeastern part of the state. But what a lot of people aren't really considering in this type of move is that you've got these major urban areas such as Kinston, Greenville, Lumberton, Fayetteville that absolutely got throttled by flooding. So you're talking about so many other programs that are affected. And when it's so widespread throughout the eastern part of the state, I think you have to act. I've seen some things that the NCHSA has also put out with Hurricane Matthew relief games and picking up collections at gates and things like that, which I think is an absolute phenomenal thing to do. And, we felt, the power of hurricanes and flooding before, and I'm really proud of what the state is doing in response to this.
And now it feels like we've gotten a little bit past that flooding, and I say a little bit because you just mentioned places like Fayetteville and Lumberton, they're going to still have floodwaters in different areas probably for the next week and a half. My brother lives in Goldsboro. He's still cleaning up.
Wow.
I mean, there's still water around his house. I mean, it's not necessarily up to his door like it was, but it just gives you an idea. Like school is still out in Wayne County, still out.
Right.
I don't think they're back in. I think he told me it might be Friday. Either it's Thursday, Friday. You're talking almost 2 weeks. And that's
and you're talking Robeson County, Cumberland County, Pitt County, Greene County, Lenoir County. You're talking about a pretty decent portion of eastern North Carolina is feeling some pretty severe effects from that flooding. So the response I thought was spot on, and I think that everybody at the end is going to benefit from it. I haven't really heard a response from any teams in the West, but I really hope that they understand how the severity of the situation, and I hope that they do help out these programs. We've got some phenomenal coaches out here who are doing everything they can to get their guys prepared, to get focused on ball again. But I think at the end of the day, we need to make sure that our student athletes are safe. We need to make sure that they're taken care of. And there's a lot of student athletes that lost everything they have. So this is much bigger than football. This is much bigger than football. As a matter of fact, we have some student athletes on the Outer Banks that I've been told have lost a home. So, it's not just, it's isolated places. We all felt these effects, but, we also have the opportunity as coaches to come together and make a difference. We have the opportunity as athletic departments throughout North Carolina to come together and ease this stress by having these collections at the gate and helping the NCHSAA and some of these other systems rebuild and retool their programs, because it's not just football we're talking about here. For instance, our tennis shed was flooded at the high school. I remember we had a cleanup at the campus last Tuesday. We had a voluntary campus cleanup. For instance, our bleachers got flipped over. I mean, you're talking a set of bleachers that's over 1,000 pounds. The wind picked it up and flipped it over a fence. Our softball field took a lot of damage. Our baseball facility with batting cages and fencing and things like that. So I think with all of us coming together and just realizing the power of community, that's what it's all about. And I think that's what really triggers that mission statement wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and now that we're getting past some of that, and it's getting time for people to say, okay, we can focus back on things that we enjoy, and we're not having to constantly be concerned about those things. We're moving forward. And we came out with a segment, and We're calling it obituaries. We're killing all these excuses for things right now. Are you ready for this?
I'm bracing myself.
Yeah. Rest in peace, weather problems. Since the state has given almost all fall sports extra time, as much as a week, to complete the regular season, enough of smacking around Mother Nature. Because first of all, we don't promote violence. We don't want that. Don't hit anybody. And second, she can dish it out harder than we can give it. Mother Nature wins on the scoreboard every time. Without question. Man has never beaten Mother Nature. Maybe we slow it down. We run some time off the clock.
Yeah.
But then Mother Nature comes back with 2-minute offense.
Yeah.
Every time. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Excuses for Elizabeth City State athletic struggles. Winless in volleyball. Probably a 4th straight losing season in football. Both basketball teams are young. They're picked to be at the bottom of the CIAA. All we hear about is budgets being cut left and right, left and right. Those salaries still look fat, though. Rest in peace, this election. America just wants it over so we can start drinking without end for the next 4 years. Is that good?
Pretty good.
Am I missing anything? Coach, you are a history civics teacher, is that right?
World history is my forte. But yes, I've taught civics before and U.S. history, American history.
Rest in peace, this election?
You know, I'm going to tell you like I tell my students, I don't put my political views out there. I play it safe.
I understand. I'm not putting a political view out there.
No, I don't. I just choose not to talk about that. I'd much rather talk about, the presidential election of 1898, to be honest with you. So,
wow, very rousing election there. Is that Teddy Roosevelt in the mix?
You're gonna put me on the spot on the radio. We're gonna get into a nerdy history discussion.
Or we can just take a break.
Let's take a break. We can hash out history facts and during the break.
Well, take us into the break, Coach.
You're listening to the NENC Sports Radio Talk Show with Owen Hassel and Malcolm Shields. We'll be right back after this.
Keep this conversation going right now on our Facebook page. More NENC Sports Radio Show is coming up.
The WRVS 89.9 High School Game of the Week returns in December, featuring live varsity boys basketball games. And your business or organization can join in on all the action. Sponsorship packages are available now. Call 252-335-3985 and find us online at ecsu.edu/WRVS.
Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do?
Well, John Wheeler took us to the bridge, and we're out of the bridge now.
Yes.
We're off the bridge, back on the pavement, with the 10th episode of the 3rd season NENC Sports Radio Show. Malcolm Shields, Owen Hassel, football coach for Curry Tuck. John Wheeler, let's do a little Shimon now.
Jump on, get on me, all right.
A College of the Albemarle donor left in his will $600,000 for the school to use in only one of two ways, only one or the other, either library renovation or to build a baseball field. The school is already set to use most of its bond money to renovate the library. Of course, we know President Dietz spearheaded the movement to stop athletics at COA. Well, the issue for people that were supporting her decision, the trustees make the final call, but she spearheaded the decision, that the reasoning was money. Well, now you still have $400,000 sitting in the remaining athletic fund. Now you can combine it with your other major need of field. You can make $600,000 going to get you a baseball field. We ain't talking about building Yankee Stadium. $600,000 gets the job done. You got the field. You got grass right behind the campus. You can make that happen. So Dietz is moving on to another community college. She got a new job. She's leaving soon. Maybe this transition will put the matter of athletics back on the COA table. There's no excuses now, Dolphins. Bring it back. Come on now.
Jump on.
Burquemin center Wayne Worley would like nothing more than to see the Pirates end the regular season with 3 straight wins. How come I think they'll be favored in all 3 games, starting with Camden on Friday. However, he had more important matters on his plate last week. Here's more from the Burquemin's lineman. Always difficult to play on Monday night, and it's Plymouth. What can you take from this game?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that we saw that we need to work on. With all the rain and stuff, we're really going into this game with only knowing half of what we really needed to do. But I can't make excuses. We didn't play like we should. We made a lot of mistakes, but I can take from it that the guys we played hard, but we just made some mistakes that just really costed us.
How have you and the team adapted to the weather? Like, everyone's had to deal with it, of course, but you've had games on different days, just so much going on.
It hasn't been easy, but we've been trying to get in practices when we can. Really anything we can do to compensate for it. But sometimes you just can't do it for the safety of the kids and everything.
Did you have any flooding?
Oh yeah.
How was that?
Definitely, yes, sir. Where I live wasn't too bad, but there was a lot of places that had at least 20-25 inches. So there was places that there's nothing, no car, nothing could get through. I volunteer at a fire department. We were really having to. There was a lot of calls where we had to go, and because people just couldn't get out. People just couldn't get out of their homes, get to the hospital when they needed to. So it definitely took a toll.
You made a few rescues, essentially?
Oh yes, sir. Yeah. There was a couple guys that if we couldn't get to them to the hospital, they'd been in really rough shape.
Okay. So you're getting past all of this. You have a game Monday, and then Friday just happens to be at Camden.
Oh yeah.
Is it easy to get past this, knowing you got Camden, and that game always gets people riled up?
Yeah, of course. But we just got to take what we did wrong here, and we got to just correct it the best we can to go into Camden full steam. And but we're really looking forward to it.
How have the guys adapted to Coach Aaron Burke, now being the interim coach this year? Has it been a good transition? Or?
I would say it's been a good transition. There's a few things that is different from having Coach James to Coach Burke, of course, but I think he's a good coach. He leads the team good, and I've enjoyed having him as a coach.
John Wheeler, a big Nirvana fan.
I like Nirvana.
Yeah.
Good call.
I always like to take it back to the grunge movement every so often. Twitter shout time.
Your tweets go here. Twitter shouts.
This from David Lawson, assistant football coach at Northeastern, with the Twitter handle @Lumpy68. Posted a photo of a road sign. It's in Bertie County. I can tell by the background. I'm pretty certain I know exactly where this is. It has Edenton 11 miles and Elizabeth City 39. So the proper opportunity for some shade. He says North Carolina DOT got close to predicting the Northeastern Edenton score. Come on, man. Dang. Dang.
Yep.
Well, let's see. Needed another 9 points one way, 3 the other, a field goal, and a couple more field goals, and it could have been closer. Let's see if they had a sign just past the blinking light intersection at Bertie on 17, like you're going west. If it was about 3 more miles that way, you'd have 48 and 14. So that's the DOT's fault. Put the sign in the wrong place. I just chuckled a little bit at that.
Yeah. It was good when I saw it.
You know who also liked it? Wes Matera.
Wow. There you go.
I thought that was kind of funny.
There you go.
It's kind of his nod going, hey, tip my hat. And as he said, they just have better athletes than us. Pretty good analysis. Well, we encourage all of you to tweet about any NC sports, and yours might get put on the air. Just post your thoughts or questions. We'll try to answer them. Use the hashtag NENC Sports. Now we get to the beautiful, wonderful, fantastic prediction time.
NENC Picks of the Week.
We'll start with Currituck at Bertie. Coach Wheeler, I know you're going to Kurt Herbstreit this one.
Definitely Kurt Herbstreit this one.
Yeah. Malcolm, I know you've got Bertie winning by 40, but why?
Maybe not by that much.
Oh, really?
Wow.
He had Eatonton beat Northeastern by 40,
yes.
so.
It seems like Bertie's got a little bit on the roll. They got a big road win against First Flight last week. It seems like they're trying to establish the run. I'm going to go with the hot team and go with Bertie.
And Bertie's always a difficult place to play.
Mm-hmm.
That almost factors in a few points for the Falcons. Mm-hmm. You'd asked me this a few weeks ago, I'm picking Currituck, no doubt about it. Bertie has got maybe a little mojo here. I didn't think they're going to win at First Flight.
I didn't know.
No. Jim Prince has got himself a pretty nice team this year, mm-hmm. and for Bertie to go down there and do what they did says a lot, like we mentioned earlier in the show with Coach Grantley Mazzell and what's going on with the program building something and being a Bertie guy.
And he also had a solo win early, I think, against Riverside, correct?
The Riverside victory was another. Mm-hmm. I realize it's a 1A school, but that was a state-ranked 1A school. And just a few weeks earlier, Bertie lost to Gates. So
I'm going to un-Kurt Herbstreit this one.
Uh-oh.
Gates is good, guys. Gates is solid.
And there's no doubt about that. You can check my power rankings. NENCsports.wordpress.com. I've had Gates number 1 in the Coastal 10 for the last few weeks. And I've seen Plymouth twice. I haven't even seen Gates this year. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking by results and by what other coaches like you, Coach, are telling me. And I'm thinking that game, they play each other last week of the season, or I guess now would be next to the last week, but it'll be their last game of the regular season. To me, that's like a mini Eatonton Northeastern 2011-2012 type matchup. Both teams coming into the conference final without a conference loss, winner take all. That's going to be something, and I think it's in Gatesville.
I think it is. Coach Biggie's got those guys rolling, and the crazy part about that Gates County team is they're young. They got youngins all throughout that offensive backfield, skill players, and across that line. Their defense is young. So this Gates County is going to be good for quite some time. Keep your eye on Gates County.
First Flight at Eatonton. One thing First Flight could do is maybe exploit that secondary. I just don't think that's enough. Eatonton's going to come back very upset itself. Mm-hmm. And I really believe the Aces, especially at home, are going to make sure to forget Northeastern as much as possible, win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Eatonton.
You, Coach?
I think the world of both coaches. Coach Hoggard's really got a great team. Watching film on them 2 weeks ago in preparation, they're explosive. They are so explosive. Offensively, they hit it so quick, and then they do get in space and put their best athletes in space too, and they're fast. First Flight is just so well coached. Jim Prince does have a great team this year. We've actually faced First Flight once already earlier in the year, and they're scrappy. They have no quit in them. I just think Eatonton's probably going to rebuild that confidence after Northeastern, and I think it's going to be a good game. But I think Coach Hoggard and Coach Patera are going to get those guys ready to go and probably go ahead and get them one this week.
And what Northeastern, part of their strategy last Friday was let's have Luke Hoggard try to beat us. We're going to take away as much of Deshaun Hall and Keemon Bailey as possible, and let's see if Luke Hoggard can beat us. And I think we knew the answer to that was going to be no. It was going to have to be more Bailey, more Hall. I mean, those are your guys. Those are your speed guys. And, I mean, they were all over Luke Hoggard. Mm-hmm. And really Northeastern's line just looked like a college line against a high school line, the way they just beat them up.
Yeah.
I don't know a way to explain it. I don't know if you've seen any film from it, Coach, yourself.
I haven't seen the Northeastern Eatonton film, though.
It just seemed that way, like Northeastern knew. But a combination of speed and just what one of the assistant coaches was telling me from the Eagles is we faced much tougher lines against Hunt and Nash. Much tougher. Eatonton was nowhere near as physical as those teams. And in one case, okay, they're 3A schools. That should be it. But then you look at an Eatonton team that took Rocky Mount to the limit, that's state ranked in the top 5 in 3A. So what do I say here? Is it just matchups?
Personally, I think Northeastern's defense is one of the most underrated teams in the state. You know, we constantly hear about how explosive Northeastern is on offense with their athleticism and how they're putting up points and things like that. But I think Northeastern's defense is unreal good. I mean, anybody that sees them in person or watches film can see that. But it's something that just a lot of people don't talk about. You know, the scheme that they run with the man matchups that they have, they constantly have the athletes to run man coverage, and they constantly have the size and the athleticism to play some really tough gap sound defense up front. So for them to be able to do that against Eatonton was unbelievably impressive. We've played Wilson Hunt at Currituck this year, and yes, they are good, but Eatonton's offensive line, guys, is pretty solid. So for Northeastern's defensive line and their box defense right there to really shut down that run is absolutely impressive. So let's not take anything away from that defensive effort. But Eatonton's offensive line is still solid. And going back to what you said earlier with the email that was sent in to you, I don't think one game really is a panic button moment, like you said. I think they still have a great scheme. They still have one of the top running backs in the region and one of the top running backs in the state in 2A. So you keep feeding the beast, and good things will happen for Eatonton. Yeah,
that's just one game against a team that is a state contender and has been the last few years. It seemed to be a little bit too much, and you're going to be frustrated. Your team that you've seen play so well the past few weeks ends up just getting absolutely smacked, and it just happens. And Eatonton's offensive line, they get a gut check, but I think they will respond. This bread and butter has worked for Eatonton before Hoggard was the head coach.
Right.
They've been doing this for a while, and the kids know it coming up through the rec leagues, the youth leagues. So you just don't sit there and throw out the whole playbook.
No, and that goes for defensively too. I just going back to the game against First Flight though. First Flight's got a phenomenal running back themselves in Colin Jennings. That kid is explosive. He runs low, he runs hard, and he never stops his feet. And watching him on film and then watching him in person was really impressive. Great running back, and their offensive line did a very good job. Just being skilled and fundamental up front. So I think Eatonton definitely has to stop Colin Jennings if they want to have a chance to win this ball game.
And Eatonton's defense, the first half, you can't put a lot on the defense because of those turnovers. Really just had the one run to score from J.R. Walker to start the game. And the score right before halftime. But otherwise, everything else was short fields or the pick six. It's hard to really gauge too much about how Eatonton's defense handled Northeastern's offense. So, again, First Flight, this will be a chance for them to get things back to at least what they feel like is normal. It has been normal most of the year. Camden at Perquimans. Camden's won this series the last 5 years. I think Perquimans last one maybe 2010.
Yes.
And so it was a bit odd for me to look at our picks for the paper. Everyone picking Perquimans.
Yeah.
Especially because I was at Monday's game with Plymouth. Perquimans losing 54-19.
Okay.
Now that was another game where turnovers right before halftime. Perquimans gets a stop on the goal line. And then 2 or 3 plays later, DeJuan Williams fumbles. Plymouth gets it at the 25. They score 2 plays later. Dallas Hall in the next series, pick 6. Before you know it, it's 27-7 Plymouth in halftime. And that was it. I don't think Plymouth's that much better than McQuimans, but that's what happened. And you would like to think going from that, and now you can get motivated with Camden on Friday, a team you haven't beaten in a few years, that you should have beaten last year. I'm almost clapping after every word. You will beat them.
Yeah.
Should have won last year, that Saturday afternoon game, because of some rumors about something that could happen on Friday nights. They moved it to Saturday afternoon. DeJuan Williams with a fumble. I know he's thinking about that. Even with Marcus Joyner, Camden had Perquimans could have won that game. I think there's enough athletes both sides of the ball for Perquimans to finally break through here, especially at home. And there's going to be a little bit of emotion riding because of Madeline Byram, who was a former athlete at Perquimans. She passed away this summer. They're going to have a little ceremony for her before the game, give her parents a soccer jersey with her name on it. So the emotions are going to be high with that. A lot of the kids thought the world of her, and teachers and people in the community. Mm-hmm. A lot of different things happening. I've got the sensation Perquimans is going to get this together and get a victory. So I'm going with the Pirates.
I'm going to go with the Perquimans. You got to think that these kids really want this game. The fact, going a couple weeks back, they played good against Nance with Suffolk out of Virginia. You got to think these kids really want this game, so I'm going to go with the Perquimans.
Coach.
I have not had the opportunity to really see Perquimans on film, but every time that I talk to fellow coaches and then see the paper, I keep seeing positive, good things coming out of the Pirates. We faced Camden earlier in the season, and Scott Jones is one of the best coaches I've ever had the opportunity to coach against. And he's going to have a great scheme. He's going to have his kids prepared, but he's extremely young this year. And I think there's too much explosion coming out of the Pirates right now. I happened to watch your Snapchat story from the game on Monday, and that quarterback running back tandem that they have is special, and they're young too. So I think it's going to be too much speed and athleticism on the offensive side for Perquimans. And like you said, with everything that's wrapped up into this game on Friday, I think the edge has to go to the Pirates.
Yeah, I don't want to underestimate a Scott Jones coach Camden team.
No,
ever,
never.
I really don't, and that's what I think gives all of us that little bit of doubt. But you play with what you got on the field, and right now Camden's hurting. They are young, no doubt, and Perquimans is young, but in the right way, if that makes sense. You just said that the quarterback, running back tandem, that's juniors in Dallas Hall and DeJuan Williams, and good-looking athletes, guys who are going to do well in basketball as well the next season. This is Perquimans' time. This is a chance for the Pirates to have a winning season. That's still on the table. They can win out. If they beat Camden, I think they got Mattamuskeet and Columbia. Those are wins. Mm-hmm. That's a 7-4 record. You might get to host a playoff game. That's possible at 7-4 in the 1AA playoffs when everybody and their mother gets in. There's still a lot to play for if you're Perquimans. A lot. You can finish third in the conference. And we've said it a few times. What does that mean for interim coach Aaron Burke? Does that mean you make him the permanent guy? We don't know yet. It's a lot to be left out there.
I'm going to go on record and say that right now he's done an absolutely phenomenal job. Absolutely phenomenal job. I mean, to be in the position that they were in, with such short term, and for him to go in and really just say that here's the program, this is what we're going to do, let's make it happen. And then to be in the position they're in, unbelievable. Phenomenal job. And Coach, if you're hearing this, great job.
Pasquotank at Northeastern, the River City Classic that's really not much of a classic. We're talking 27-1 record by Northeastern in the series. I think this is going to get ugly. I think it's going to get really ugly. It's homecoming for Northeastern. There's always that little bit of chatter just because you got two teams in the same county.
Yeah.
So you can call it a rivalry because they're in the same county, but you can't call it that for anything else. Mm-hmm. You got to win more than once. And that one time was about 10 years ago, and it took overtime. And that was Northeastern's worst year under Coach Antonio Moore. Not to discount the one, but there's your one. Pasquotank just coming off an absolute beatdown against Hertford County, 47-0 clock running. And that was at home. That's Pasquotank's last home game.
Yeah.
That's it. Do you give what can Pasquotank possibly do to make this a game for a half? What can Pasquotank do? I think we all know what the prediction is. I'm getting past who's winning. We all have our prediction of Northeastern, but what can Pasquotank possibly do? You're shaking your head. Just say something. Say words. Random things.
I mean, they're going to probably have to play their best game they've played all year. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. The fact that against Hertford County, that second half, Kyrene Perry, back-to-back, basically the same play. He guts them for touchdown runs. Those look like effort plays that they didn't put out there in that second half. You know that they're going to bring the fight the first 2 quarters, but can they do it for 4 quarters? I've seen them for a little bit over a year and change. I haven't seen that consistency out of them. I can't see it happening on Friday.
Coach?
Bottom line is you have to control time of possession. So, find yourself a groove, control the ground game the best you can, and throw in some high percentage plays. And you're not going to look for the home run ball, and lull them to sleep. I think that's what you do if you try to set them up. Just set them up high percentage, something like that, and then try to get them sleeping a little bit. And Chris McGee out there at Pastel Tank is really doing a great job. We played them a couple weeks ago, and it was really a completely different Pastel Tank team that came in and played us. And that's a big compliment to Coach McGee and that staff for really getting those guys, ready to play and play disciplined football. So I think that's what you got to do here. Is my understanding that he's got some pretty significant injuries that have occurred in the past couple of weeks. So I think to give your guys some confidence, especially now that you're playing with some younger guys, high percentage play calling is going to be critical. And then it's got to be all-out pursuit to the ball. The pursuit to the football has got to be precedent, especially with the athleticism that Northeastern has. Try to contain them as best you can, and just gang tackle. Don't try to put yourself in a one-on-one situation at any time. Try to get yourself in high percentage defensive plays as well. So, I'm not saying anything Chris probably hasn't already thought about and things he hasn't probably already told his team. But if Pastel Tank can do those things, they can keep it close. And anytime you snap the ball, anytime you kick the ball off, you got a chance. So just immediately right off Pastel Tank, I don't think it's fair to those kids or those coaches. But I think it is a rivalry, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I think these kids know each other; they see each other on a regular basis. Anything can happen in a rivalry game. I've been around too long to know any better. So anything is possible in a rivalry series like this.
Well, here's what Pascal Tank has that maybe no one else has. The Cow Twins. And you talked about time of possession. That is the one thing out of all those scenarios you mentioned that I think Pascal Tank could take advantage of, not just the Cow Twins, Dante Johnson. Here's your bruiser. Here's a guy that could maybe go up the middle 3-4 yards, 2 or 3 yards, run that clock some more, and then bounce Marcus to the outside in time of possession. I think that is the one thing Pascal Tank could do to give itself a chance of really outside, really just close to minimal chance. But that's what I can see. Anything else, it could be a bad night for
Don't be surprised if you see some interesting formations out of McGee and Pastel Tank. This is something that we weren't expecting when we played them, and it wound up being a big kicker in that game for us. Is they came out in some overload formations, and they were pretty elaborate overload formations. They had some empty sets, they had some bunch formations and things like that. So, they're going to window address it pretty well, and he's going to try to get you in some mismatches. So, don't be surprised if you see some interesting formations out of the Panthers.
Yeah. Chowan at ECSU. This is only ECSU's second game at Roebuck Stadium. The following Saturday will be their third and final game. That's homecoming against Virginia Union. But this week is Chowan. Chowan when you thought Coach Tim Place might be looking for another coach. Last year, he turns things around. They beat a Division I FCS school, but that's the first time in Chowan history. Beat Winston-Salem. Really made people take notice of Chowan in the North Division, which we've said many times, the North is better than the South. It has been the last couple of years. I don't think that's even changed this year, even with a couple of South wins against the North. Chowan beat ECSU for the first time ever last year. That was in Murfreesboro. I see no reason why Chowan can't do that in Elizabeth City and make it 2 in a row. Just looking really impressive. Even in the North, they're looking impressive. I've got to go with the Hawks.
I'm going to have to go with Chowan. You know, they seem like they're rolling, I think, 27-0 lead in the second quarter against a very, consistent and good Virginia Union program for the past few years. They fought Bowie State pretty close, and Bowie State seems like they're the top of the North Division. They're still chasing them. They may have a chance if things break out for them, but ECSU has just been the inconsistency with offense. They have their good streaks, and then they go cold. ECSU is going to have to play their A game against the Hawks on Saturday.
And Coach Wheeler, we're going to Kurt Herbstreit you because you're a Chowan alum, right? Or do you want to make a pick?
I'm going to make a pick.
Okay.
I'm going to make a pick. Go Braves.
There you go.
Braves.
So, yeah. They'll always be the Chowan Braves. But the other thing about Chowan this season is they actually, and a lot of people don't realize this, they beat a Gulf South team. Gulf South is arguably one of the best Division II program or conferences in the country. And then in beating West Florida, who's a first-year program, arguably. But, West Florida is also led by a guy named Pete Shinnick. And if you're a Division II kind of guy, he used to be the former head coach at UNC Pembroke and really built that program into what it is. And so Pete Shinnick and Steve Saunier, the assistant head coach, they left to go down to West Florida, and now they're building what is arguably going to be a very good Division II program down there in Pensacola. The next week after Chowan beat West Florida beat Florida Tech, who's ranked 12th in the country. So, that win over West Florida really carries some weight. They lost to Bowie State. Bowie State is arguably one of the best teams in the North Division of the CI, and then they also lost to Campbell. But I was actually at the Campbell game, and therefore a little bit in the first quarter, it was a game. But Campbell just had too much firepower at the end of it. But, Tim Place has done an incredible job. He's really revamped that coaching staff out there. He's brought new life into a lot of areas, especially that defense. That defense is playing phenomenal football right now. So it's pretty exciting. He's done a great job recruiting. He's done a great job recruiting high school freshmen. It's not necessarily just JUCO transfers. He's getting some guys that can get in there and play. He's got an offensive tackle right now that's 6'6", 330 as a true freshman, and he is unbelievable good. So, when you sit there and you watch Chowan, they've improved a lot. Yeah, last year they had a lot of firsts, but they've really piggybacked off of that season. And they're just playing good ball. So hopefully they can take that into Elizabeth City. I think the world of what Coach Wilson is doing right now. He's a great guy to talk ball with, and he's definitely an air raid guy. And I've actually learned a lot from him sitting down in the office and chit-chatting with him. But, I think right now just Chowan's firing on too many cylinders for Elizabeth City State.
And you say a lot of firsts last year for Chowan. Right now they're having a lot of seconds, and then they want thirds and fourths. And right now the Hawks are doing a lot of that. And it used to be the North Division you had your top teams and then Lincoln and Chowan. Now it's just Lincoln.
But then again, the CIAA is always full of trap games like this. When you think you got a gimme, all of a sudden some team that you should have beaten sits there and keeps it close, and all of a sudden will get you by a field goal, or something like that. So, Chowan has to be careful. They can't come in here, on too high of a note and get too cocky. They've got to play ball. They've got to execute. So hopefully the coach is going to have those guys ready, and it should be a good game because, again, this is what has become a rivalry game. And I've been to an Elizabeth City Chowan game, and yes, it is pretty interesting. It gets pretty chippy, no doubt. But you have to stay focused, and you can't let your emotions get the best of you. You got to just play ball and do your job.
Yeah, I think part of that intensity, you could call that a rivalry, even though ECSU had won each matchup until last year because they recruit the same guys essentially. The recruiting area is here, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of that going on, even in other sports beyond football, like softball. Chowan has picked up quite a few nice softball athletes from this area. And look what Chowan's doing in the CIAA and softball each year. They're the team to beat each and every year. That's just one example.
When you put it in that kind of perspective, it kind of makes it a must-win. For both programs, because like you said, we are recruiting the same caliber kid, and we're recruiting the same regions, and we're trying to build a fence around Southeast Virginia, Northeastern North Carolina. So it kind of does become a win must-win situation.
Okay. Well, let's get to a high school roundup. Currituck Volleyball clinched its second straight outright Northeastern Coastal Conference title after beating Hertford County on Monday. Team has gone 22-2 in the past 2 seasons in the Northeastern Coastal. Girls golf, more Currituck. The Lady Knights won the 1A, 2A East Regional title. Bailey Twyford, the team's top finisher at second overall with a 73. Brittany Tyndall and Sarah Conley also make up the squad. Girls tennis for the Northeastern Coastal. Edenton nearly got a full sweep. Regular season tournament champions, player of the year, Ellie Reinhardt, coach of the year, Deanna Chesson. Singles tourney champ, that was Currituck's Sarah Dover, while Reinhardt opted for the doubles crown with Natalie Gonzalez. Great year for the Lady Aces all around with girls tennis. They're going to host a first-round 2A dual-team playoff match next week. First Flight's going to also be in that dual-team postseason, maybe home because the winning percentage is quite high as well for the Lady Nighthawks. Cross Country had their final meet, the Northeastern Coastal. First Flight won the boys and girls, went undefeated throughout the year, another sweep. Skylar Schultz for the guys, Alex Robin for the girls as individual champions. Last Thursday, though, I'm going to go back to tennis. Edenton won the regular season crown, a tiebreaker with First Flight. The Edenton superintendent was there. That's big.
That's awesome.
Superintendent at the girls' tennis match. Yeah. In Edenton. This was in Elizabeth City, mind you. This wasn't in Edenton. Rob Jackson, the Edenton superintendent, was there. Rob Jackson. So he's talking like me. He's like, wow, you're here? And I told him, yes, and I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, but I am for real. Wow. If I happen to make your daughter cry, which I don't know how I would do that, then I would apologize 1,000,000 times. And scene. And scene.
I'm thinking of, he was at the Edenton Aces JV football game a couple weeks ago.
It was last Thursday, and he left. He had to leave tennis early to go to JV football at Edenton. Northeastern was at Edenton for JV football. Mm-hmm. He's like, are you going to have it on Twitter? I said, yeah, I'll be updating good because I got to go to JV football. I'm like, man, you're everywhere.
That's good.
He's at a lot of sporting events.
I love it.
And I'm not trying to knock any other superintendents because I know a few of them, but I've seen him at a lot of places. And he's a big sports guy to begin with. He's an avid runner, but just a great guy to talk to if you get a chance to meet Dr. Rob Jackson and talk to him. Just a great guy. Mac U, Mid-Atlantic Christian News. Neil Alligood, the athletic director, is going to step down. He's said about no later than May. He wants to go through the year, of course. They're hosting the Bible College NIT basketball tournament, the men's basketball tournament. It's like a small college NIT tournament. They bring in 4 or 8 teams and play. NACU's going to host that. He wants to get through that tournament and a couple other things, and then he's going to step down. Wants to focus more on ministry. So good for Neil Alligood. That's what he wants to do. And I mean, there's been an Alligood doing work at Mid-Atlantic Christian, or what was called Roanoke Bible College, for 40, 50 some years now. His dad worked there forever. Wow. It's going to be odd not seeing an Alligood there. I'm sure his dad will still pop in from time to time, but as far as someone working the school, that's going to be odd. I mean, they're the backbone of that university. So, and they've seen a lot of growth under Neil Alligood. They moved into the USCAA, United States Collegiate Athletic Association, which is like an NCAA organization for small colleges around the country. They've added new sports since he's been there, soccer, men's golf, and they're looking at possibly baseball, softball. He had some other ideas coming down the pike. So all the best for Neil.
Absolutely.
And now, I mean, there's only one more thing to play. It's the Slow Jams. And we always know with the Slow Jams we're going to wrap it up. Remember to follow us on Twitter at NENC Sports. I'm an ONOBX. Malcolm?
I'm at Malcolm_Shields.
Coach?
At Currituck FB. Go Knights.
Yeah. I got to say this one story quick about this song. Jeffrey Osborne, You Should Be Mine, the Woo Woo song. I heard this live at Dorton Arena during the North Carolina State Fair. and he was out there just killing it. He was awesome with it. And he's getting people in the crowd to do, can you woo woo? He's getting them to do it, and like fans are doing it. And he says, I need a white person to do it. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like one of like 5 white people in the crowd. I have a chance to do the woo woo song. But alas, I was too far up in the rafters, and he gave it to somebody else. I was really bummed out about that. I mean, I had it. I could do it. Can you woo woo woo?
There you go.
It should be mine. Oh, mine. See, that's good.
There you go.
I don't mind breaking out the pipes when I have to. That's my story with Jeffrey Osborne.
Wow.
Well, if we want to talk more about sports, pick up a copy of the Daily Advance newspaper for more on sports in the Northeast corner. We go beyond the radio time quite a bit, so now we got YouTube. Check us out there. Search WRVS 89.9 or NENC Sports. For Owen Hassel, Malcolm Shields, and John Wheeler, Coach, good luck Friday against those Bertie Falcons.
Yeah, we're going to try to prove you two wrong. How about that?
Fair enough. It's the NENC, and don't you see, athletes live here.
NENC Sports Radio Show is produced at the WRVS-FM studios on the campus of Elizabeth City State University.